Okay, this is going to be a complete rundown and explanation of the audio system that I installed in my 2021 Wolverine X2. And I want to start off by saying you can do a very simplified version of this that I will tell you along the way that doesn't have a lot of the features. But for those of you that want to put a tablet in your side-by-side, whether it's the X2 850 or the 1000s or even another brand or even in your car, you can pretty much use these instructions universally. The first thing that I want to mention is that if you just take a 10-inch, 8-inch, whatever size tablet, and you just want to use it for an audio system, you can pretty much use almost any tablet there is, because just in the same way a lot of people use Bluetooth with their phone and play their music from their phone in their car or in their side-by-side, that's really all you're using the tablet for if you just want to do an audio system. So there is one thing I would recommend. If you want to build a high-performance audio system that sounds good, gets really loud, has plenty of bass, then you're going to need separate amplifiers. Now, this knob down here, this infinity knob, in fact, you know what? I want to be able to give you the rundown on the item numbers on this stuff. I will put the links in the bottom, and I should say that go to Yamaha Wolverine forums, and I will put the link in the description here, because then you can see pictures of everything as I assembled it, as I installed it. You can get a lot more detail on what I did in the forum in the thread. But this infinity volume knob that you see here, that is basically a Bluetooth volume knob. It's an Infinity INV-BC4. It's basically a Bluetooth volume knob. Whether you used a tablet or you just had a cell phone sitting in here, you could hook that volume knob up through Bluetooth to either the tablet or the cell phone. It gives you the RCA outputs to go to an amplifier, and it also controls track forward and reverse, volume, mute, play, pause. So that big knob actually gives you a great place to adjust your system as you're driving, bouncing around, so you don't have to be pushing on the tablet trying to change the volume, trying to change the track. That's probably the thing I love the most about this system I put in, is that infinity volume knob. Now the volume knob you can get for anywhere between 80 and 100 bucks. Little expensive, but it provides you not only with your RCA outputs to go to your amplifiers, it also gives you your turn-on lead for your amplifiers. So if you wanted to do a very basic audio system version of what I have, you get a tablet. You could buy the RAM tablet mount, bolt it right to your dash, and use that infinity knob, and then you've got amplifiers and speakers. I went a little further than that, as you can see, because I have backup cameras, and I have an AM/FM radio. I have many other features. I have in the glove box, I have another USB jack if I want to plug in a flash drive or transfer files into the tablet. So I added, I also have built-in charging for it. You can see the little angled charging cable, and it comes from behind the dash. And again, if you want to see any details on how I mounted it, how I did it, all those are in separate threads and videos in my overall build thread. I have a 7-part series on how I built this tablet head unit. But again, I'm going to show you in a few minutes that you don't need to go as extreme as I did. If you don't want the backup camera, if you don't want the USB accessory port, if you don't want the AM/FM radio, all you need is the tablet, the infinity knob, and then the rest of your stereo system, your amplifiers and your speakers. If you want to do everything, there's a water sealed, I shouldn't say waterproof because I had to drill holes into this box and put grommets in it, but I bought waterproof boxes at Walmart and then drilled holes into them with grommets to get wires in and out of it. So I can't say they're waterproof anymore, but I would say they're heavily water resistant. So first I'm just going to show you the components and then I'll explain to you how everything was done. So this is a Samsung 10.1 inch SM-T510N tablet. I chose it because it's got built-in GPS. It also has the OTG spec, which is on the go, which means I can plug multiple items into it through a USB interface. That's how I get the backup camera. That's how I get the extra port, the AM/FM radio. But like I said, you don't have to get the OTG specs if you're just going to run. If you're going to run a tablet with a giant memory card on it and put a whole bunch of music and videos and whatever you want that you can just use the Bluetooth controller for, you don't need any external wiring to your tablet other than to make sure that you keep it charged. Now, I had put on the dash here, this is a USB-C charging port, and it also shows you your battery level. Now, if I didn't have all the information and data coming in through the USB port, then I don't even have to have a plug there. I could just charge it when I needed to, just plug it in here, plug it in there, you'd be set to go. You could get a little cord. But since I'm putting all the data through the USB port from the backup camera, from the external USB port, from the AM/FM tuner, I needed it to be connected all the time. So now I'm going to go through with you, like I said, the basic components. So the first component is a Samsung tablet in whatever mount and holder you want. The second thing that I think is important is that infinity knob. Okay, now from there we're going to go under the hood here for a second. Okay, so under the hood, and I'm not going to take this off, you're going to have to go into my thread in the forum or the other videos and you'll be able to see. Here's where your key switch is under your hood, where you turn it from rabbit to turtle mode. If you pull this panel off, which is very easy, that's where your accessory leads are that everybody uses to turn things off and on with the key. In this area behind there, I have an NVX VADM2 440 watt 2-channel amp. Very small amp. I mean, dimension wise, not much larger than a dollar bill. It's a Class D amplifier that gives you tons of power. I'm only running it in 4 ohm, so it's only giving me, I think, 150 or 160 watts a channel at 4 ohm instead of the whole 440, but still 300 watts at 4 ohms is fine because all I'm running are the Yamaha SSV Works 6.5 inch door speakers built into their own little pod box. And again, there's a video as well as pictures in the form of the installation. I would say these speakers are a little better than average quality. They're nice. The real thing that makes them sound so much better is the box that they're in. Now, you could take a 6-inch speaker, again, you want to cut costs, you could put it in there and put a couple of plumbing straps or whatever kind of metal straps or brackets you want to make and put it behind that speaker to hold it in place, and it'll work okay. It's not going to have the low-end bass response or the overall sound quality that these have while they're in their little pod box. They actually sound pretty good. So you've got your head unit, the infinity knob, the RCA outs run to the NVX 2-channel amplifier to these speakers. Okay, so the next thing, I used a Y connector on my RCA output on the infinity knob, which the RCA Y connector is, again, behind this panel. Half of it goes into that 2-channel amplifier over here. And then what I did was I ran the other side down under the seat, and I have the Yamaha SSV Works subwoofer box here with the 10-inch SSV Works subwoofer. Now again, you'll have to watch my videos. While I found the 6.5-inch SSV Works speakers to be good sound quality, they sound really well, and with the NVX amp on them, they sounded fantastic. When I put in the powered subwoofer, I was extremely disappointed in the sound. It was okay, but with the noise that these things make when they're running, it drowned it out immediately. There was no really, I can't even say there was really any good bass to the unit. It was pretty weak. especially for the $600 that they charge for that box with the amplifier. So in another one of my videos in Threads, I modified the SSV Works speaker box. I took the internal amplifier out, made a plate to cover the hole where that internal amp was, and then I took out the factory 4-ohm SSV Works subwoofer, and I replaced it with a Kicker COMPVX. It is a 4-ohm dual voice coil 10-inch woofer that is super heavy duty, beautiful woofer. Model number is 44CVX102, and I'm running it in parallel on the voice coils, so it's a 2-ohm load. And then I added this amplifier you see on the front here, and that is the NVX VAD10001. That's a 1,000-watt mono amplifier that comes with a subwoofer bass control and has every adjustment that you could possibly want to fine-tune this system. And that combination of amplifier with the Kicker woofer in the SSV Works box sounds insane. It is so loud, it is so powerful, it gives you nice, deep, tight bass as well as booming bass. The only drawback is that it rattles the plastic panels on this. Now, on the Wolverine, you can get the volume up extremely high before the panels start to rattle, but if you really want to, really want to push this system hard, it'll take it and has plenty of power to spare. It's just, it sounds like the Wolverine's going to rattle apart. But I have been able to put a little bit of sound deadening here and there on panels and have quieted it down quite a bit. The system sounds phenomenal. So that's the amplifier sub combo. Now, a lot of people want to go through a lot of deep water with these. While this amplifier is marine rated, the only reason I put it down here is I'm old now. I'm 57. I don't want to drive until my knees, the water's up to my knees while I'm driving, and then have to clean this thing later. So I'm pretty safe and secure that I'm not going to run this thing underwater and mud that's going to go up past it. I also have my battery backup system back here, which is the location that Yamaha sells you the kit for. I built my own kit. That's another video and another thread. I also have the circuit breakers for the amplifiers and my fuse panel there. I'm not going to be going into deep water like that. I primarily ride in the woods. Yeah, you'll hit some mud sometimes. It can get splashed. Mud I'm not worried about. There's a place we have here called Hogwaller. You go to Hogwaller, you could be up to the steering wheel. You're driving along, everything's fine, and all of a sudden you just drop into a pit and you're up to your steering wheel. So I'm not going to be doing that. So that's why the amplifier is there. If you'd like to add a second amplifier like I did this sub amplifier, there is a lot of space behind this dashboard to put an amplifier in higher up. For my usage, I wanted to be able to adjust the amplifier when I want to and fine tune it easily. If I had put the amplifier behind the dash, either I would have had to have had the rocker switches out all the time while I adjusted it, or make another panel opening somewhere so that I could get at it to adjust it, leave the dash hanging off to adjust it. So I figured this was an easier way for me, but you have plenty of room behind your dashboard to mount that amplifier. And then once you get it adjusted, you're basically never going to have to touch it again. I just did mine the way I did, but you could put it up there if you're worried about water. Okay, now, like I said, the system sounds incredible. Now we'll get to the other thing. Okay, on this side of the dash over here, and again, you'll have to go to the Yamaha Wolverine thread to see, there is a waterproof box, or it was waterproof, and it holds the AM/FM tuner, and it holds a 12 volt to 5 volt USB hub with Usbc charging and a few other things in it, and you can see all of that in the 7-part build thread on the tablet how I figured everything out. The box that's inside behind here, that's what allows you to do the extras. The backup camera, the extra USB port, the AM/FM radio. If you don't care about an AM/FM radio, you don't want a backup camera, you don't want the extra port, then you don't have to do anything that is behind this panel. This is only if you want to do extra added features. Okay, and I have the antenna right here on the windshield. You wouldn't need to do that. It's only if you want those extra added features you would have to do the little control box that I made behind this panel. And again, if you watch the 7-part video series, each part will go after a different portion of the build of the head unit, this box, and how it works. And then there's pictures of it installed. There's a nice place for it in there, just like there was one for the amplifier over here. I will get into one other little thing here. This is the fuse panel I put in for all the accessories, and this is the main relay that gives power to the fuse panel. On all my accessories in this vehicle, I chose not to run them off the key switch accessories like most people do. And the reason for that is I live on 22 acres. You know, I could be out there, you know, a tree comes down and I'm trying to clean up or just working around the yard. Sometimes I want to have my music on, but I don't want to have the key on all the time on the Wolverine, or I don't want the engine running to have to do it. So what I did was I put one main power switch here on the dashboard, and then on my rockers below there's one that says stereo, and all of my accessories run off that fuse block. So when I turn on that main power switch on the dashboard, it trips this relay, which then lets the power feed into the fuse box, and all my accessory leads come off. Your grounds and your powers all come off of here, and then everything's fused. Now, as you'll see in one of my other videos, just remember, if you're going to do something that needs a tremendous amount of current, you will still need to use a relay. Like, I mean, technically on this I didn't have to. You could put a 30 amp fuse in it, but like my light bar harnesses came with relays already built into the harness, so I just used the relays and ran it the way they suggested. But everything pretty much runs the same, and I do have a dual battery system. If you're going to do amplifiers and a stereo, I suggest that. And that gets back to, if you have the main power switch on, feeding power to this, and you're using your stereo or whatever, with the dual battery system, my main battery will never run down. I could play my stereo and use my lights with this thing shut off, with the Wolverine shut off, for hours, and it will not drain your main battery. You can always start the vehicle and drive away, and then your dual battery isolator always gives priority to your main battery. Make sure that it's charged before it charges your second battery. So with a stereo system, especially if you're going to add amplifiers, I really recommend a dual battery system, because the charging system in these isn't super big, but it's big enough to do a 2-battery system. And I think you'd be much more happy with the performance of that battery system. So that kind of runs down the stereo system. If you want more details about the mounting, the installation, the wiring, oh, there is one more thing. While I love this Yamaha Infinity Bluetooth knob, I found that the voltage level on the RCA outputs was lacking. It's pretty low. I was hoping they would have given you a larger voltage on the outputs. So I ended up using a RCA line amplifier on the back of this just to increase the input voltage into the amplifiers. Makes a big difference. And I used an install bay IBR67. So again, that will be something that I will show in the thread on the Wolverine forums. In addition to all the parts, the video parts about making the head unit, I also have separate videos about the modifications, what I went through, and I will do a video. Well, actually, we're shooting the video now. I will add this video along with a long thread that shows everything during the installation process, why I chose what I wanted to do. But going back to something I said in the beginning, so you can do this system much easier and much more inexpensive if all you want to do is play music, videos, have a GPS. I also chose a tablet with a GPS built in so that you can be off-grid and use your GPS. Now, this particular Samsung head unit does not have a compass. So what does that mean? It means initially when you start moving, it's going to take a few seconds to realize what direction you're going to turn and say what's north, what's south. Whereas if it had a compass as well as a GPS, then instantly it would know the second you start to move where you're going, what you're doing. But I haven't noticed a problem with it that you can't do. Now, one other thing. I chose to use a USB action camera, you know, kind of like a GoPro, but an off-brand. I think I used a Vivitar, you can see in the videos, because it gave a much higher resolution picture and a much nicer picture. But you can get a Wi-Fi camera, which is in those videos in the 7 parts. I show you all the different cameras that you can use. You could use a Wi-Fi camera without having to do that whole control box under the hood with all the USB hubs, because it literally hooks up to your tablet through the Wi-Fi and you'll see the backup. And the picture's pretty good on it. So you can still get away with pretty much the backup camera. You can just put a giant memory card in this. You don't have to have the USB jack. You know, the AM/FM radio, that's the only thing that made me have to do that whole control box under the hood. And as far as mounting, you can see that this was a protective case that I got off of Amazon that I heavily modified to mount in here. Again, you can see that in the instructions, but you could easily just buy the RAM tablet mount, screw it to the dashboard, and you're done. And like I said, you don't have to have any fancy cables. You would want to put in a USB-C charging port, or you can just get one that plugs into your 12-volt outlet, your cigarette lighter outlet. You can just get a USB-C charger that plugs in there to power your tablet. So also this is the knob that came with the NVX mono subwoofer amplifier. The one variable, if you're going to put in a sub amp, is either make sure it has a subwoofer control knob available or comes with it. Because as you put different songs on, different videos, whatever it is you're doing, the constant is that bass adjustment knob helps it sound the best. Because if the bass is overpowering, you can low it. Once you get, you know, your settings pretty much set, like right now, I have all kinds of equalizer settings in this tablet. They're all set to flat because I was able, between the adjustments on the front amplifier and the adjustments on the subwoofer amplifier, to get this system sounding so good that I didn't need to play around with the equalizer and boost anything. But that one subwoofer bass knob that increases the bass at a certain frequency, that is what makes this system really sound good. If it's too boomy, you just lower the bass a little. If there's not enough, you just raise the bass enough. And on that particular amplifier, you can choose the frequency that knob goes up and down at. So you can really tune the system with that amplifier and get it sounding incredibly well. So, you know, and as far as apps that I'm using, they're all listed in the video series and the thread. You know, your AM/FM, your audio player, your video player. Right now I think that button's for Google Maps, but I also have, what do I have? I have Avenza Maps in here. I also have a compass program, but I'm not sure. I haven't really tested it too well out there. But my main apps, this is all I really need for a head unit. You can do anything you want, just like any other tablet with it. But that's all I'm running right now. you know, the backup camera. So that's about it. If you have any questions, you can, you know, leave a question in the forum. I'll be more than happy to help you. But setting up the basic system would be easy. And then if you want to do the extended system with the control box with all the USB features, it's not much harder. I gave pretty good instructions on it, but I will post this today with a long thread showing how things are mounted and referring to which sections of my thread. You can see the rest. But I think you'd be very happy with an audio system like this. All right, thank you for watching. Have a good day.